Hello, algebra students. Today we're going to spend one more day on finding the line of best fit, the equation of the line of best fit. Sometimes they call it the best fit line. Sometimes on computers they also call it a trend line if you're working with Excel or Google Sheets. But we usually, when we're talking about it in math, it's just line of best fit. Again, line of best fit is the line that does the best to represent the data that we have. This is a scatter plot that I have, and when I say a scatter plot, again, I mean these points are not perfectly linear. They're not all in one straight line. There is a trend, and the equation of the line that I'm going to find is going to show where that data is. So what I have here, I already drew in the line of best fit. The line that I drew has some points above the line, some points below the line, and it happens to touch or hit 3 of the points. Remember, this is not like a video game. You don't get a better score if you hit more points with one line. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to really represent this data. So I have 3 points to choose from when I'm going to find my points to use. Those 3, even though this one up here is just kind of touching on the line, those are the 3 points that are on my line. Remember, you can pick other points as well. For instance, my line is almost right on that grid mark right there. So you can pick other points even if it's not one of the points that you graphed. It really doesn't matter which of the points on this particular problem you choose. I like to have points that are a little bit farther away from each other instead of having 2 of them that are right next to each other. So if I have some that are decent, I'm going to pick ones that are farther away. So I'm going to pick these 2. So this is 84 and 225. And the point up here is at 94 and 600. Now I've run this through with any different set of those 3, picking 2 of them, and we're going to get the same slope on all of them anyway. So I found my 2 points. There they are. I'll write them down over here also. So 84, 225, and the other point is 94 and 600. Now I want to find the slope. So remember, the slope is where we subtract the y's on the top, subtract the x's on the bottom. Feel free to look back at your notes if you need that slope formula. When I do this, I'm going to just subtract the y's, subtract the x's. So I'll have 600 minus 225 and 94 minus 84. So that's 600 minus 225. Let me just double check this so I don't make a mistake while we're recording. That's going to give me 375. And my denominator is 10. Now, typically, we would want to simplify that fraction, sure. However, when we work with line of best fit, when we get into some of this kind of data, it's okay to get a slope that's a decimal. Up until now, we keep saying it's got to be a fraction, it's got to be a fraction, it's got to be a fraction. And now sometimes it's okay to have a decimal. And in fact, on this one, dividing by 10 is really nice. So this could just be 37.5 is going to be my decimal for my slope. Now, I'm going to pick one of those 2 points with the slope, and I'm going to write point slope form. Okay, that's where we have y minus y sub 1 equals m, then in parentheses x minus x sub 1. I don't care which one you pick. I'm going to pick this one. So I'll have y minus 600 equals 37.5 times x minus 94. Okay, now that is point slope. I'm going to have to change that into slope intercept. That's where we've got to show a little bit of work, right? We've got 2 steps. Distribute, move the number with the y. That's what we're doing every single time. So when I do my distribution, I'm just going to show my work right underneath this, y minus 600 equals 37.5x minus, I've got 35,250. Okay, so let me just double check that. 37.5 times 94. Yep, so subtracting 35, oh, nope, I had The decimal in the wrong place to start with. There we go, 35.25. Now, last step, I want the y by itself. I don't want y minus 600. I have to get rid of that subtracting 600, so let's add it. Just be careful because that is a negative 35,250, or 3525. So negative 3525, when I add 600 to that, because they're different signs, it's going to really look like a subtraction. So I get that y equals 37.5x minus 2925. Now, I want to point out something. When you look at this graph, the y-intercept looks like it's really close to 0. So when you see that this y-intercept is actually negative 2,925, like that's way far off. And typically, if we would notice that, we'd say, ooh, we must have done something wrong in our problem. However, this is why. When we have a break in the graph, I skipped over a whole bunch of stuff, right? I didn't start at 0 and go 2, 4, 6, 8. I jumped to 80. I made a big jump on the x-axis that skipped over a whole bunch of stuff. That's what would allow my line to get down to something like negative 2,900. So when there's a break in the graph, you cannot just depend on the graph to see the y-intercept. You're gonna have to run the math through, okay? Now, for this problem, that's all we were looking for, getting that equation of the line. Today, your homework that you're going to do as a practice problem, it's really just one giant problem. We've got this worksheet, this scatter plots worksheet. It's got a whole bunch of different SUVs with their information that you're going to have to graph as a scatter plot, draw in a line as best you can, and then you're basically running through the math to find the equation of the line of best fit. When you're done, make sure you check it in Schoology. But remember, if you pick different points than we picked on the answer key, your equation might look different. However, your slope should still be this similar. So if you have a slope of, my slope here in this problem was 37.5. If you had a slope of like 35, you're fine. If you have a slope of 75, that's not fine, right? It's got to be similar. It's got to be close. Same thing with the y-intercept. They should be close to each other. When you're done with that, make sure that you take the formative in Schoology and let me know if you need any help.